What's one of the most basic fundamental aspects of the zombie mode? Well, Zombies has always been a zero to hero journey. You begin every game with no perks, no equipment, just your 1911. And as the rounds progress, you are left to your own devices to earn points, buy better weapons and perks, basic zombie stuff. But there's something that Cold War Zombies did that players absolutely despise. Alright, despise is a little bit harsh, but it's something that many players thought ruined that fundamental pillar of what makes zombies so addicting. And if I'm being honest, I think they're wrong. I believe this feature actually motivated people to engage with Cold War Zombies on a deeper level than we had ever seen before, and is genuinely one of the most fun and engaging dynamics in all of Zombies. So why do people think Aetherium Crystals ruined the progression of Zombies? Aetherium Crystals provide one of the most basic progression systems you could ever put in a video game. Players earn Aetherium Crystals by surviving higher and higher rounds, and then they can spend those crystals in the menu on anything from field upgrades to weapon classes to perks and even ammo mods. So how does that ruin the progression? And if it does, how do we fix it? Well, many players do not like the simple fact that it is a form of external progression. With this Aetherium Crystal system, players are now progressing their character's strength in the external menus instead of within the match itself. If you haven't leveled up Juggernog, the base version only gives you a slight health boost. But after unlocking Tier 5, it gives you even more health, increases your armor strength, and provides resistance against status effects. All those new abilities are now provided to you when you buy Juggernog at no additional cost. And it wasn't just the perks either. Players would start with the strongest version of their field upgrade, and they would start with better weapon stats and better ammo mods. And there was no way of reverting these tiers. Once you upgraded your skills, there is no other way to experience the base tier of anything. In a franchise whose gameplay at its core heavily focuses on gameplay progression and upgrades, having external upgrades rubbed many players the wrong way. But now let's give Aetherium Crystals a chance. There is an extraordinary experience they can provide. Picture this. After playing a long match of Zombies, you have a handful of Aetherium Crystals. So you pick some of your favorite perks and abilities to spend those crystals on. And doing just that, in and of itself, provides an intrinsic motivation to jump right back into another game of Zombies. Naturally, you're gonna be curious about just how strong and powerful those upgrades will be. So you begin another match to experience those upgrades, and well, what do you know? You've just earned yourself some more Aetherium Crystals to spend on even more skills. This is a match-to-match positive feedback loop that is incredibly addicting and rewarding. The benefit of this model is that it prolongs the progression of Cold War Zombies as a whole throughout days, weeks, months, however long it takes players to upgrade everything. In stark contrast to this, we have Vanguard Zombies. Vanguard Zombies has a similar tier system with its perks and field upgrades. The big difference? Everything is upgraded in-game. No external progression whatsoever. Players spend more and more points to upgrade their perks, and they spend hearts to upgrade their field upgrades. Everything is in-game. The problem with that, the problem with being able to upgrade everything, every match, is that you can experience the entirety of what that game has to offer in one single match. The gameplay never evolves. Your very first game of Vanguard Zombies could be no different than your last game of Vanguard Zombies. Whereas in Cold War, all of our first games were substantially different than our last game, all thanks to this external progression that grew and developed the game on a much larger scale. And this is a proven way of keeping players engaged with the game. In fact, this sort of external progression is exactly what made Call of Duty 4 so popular. Ranking up, unlocking different weapons and abilities and attachments, it's what kept people coming back to the mode. It's okay to enjoy this external progression. And before you rush down to the comment section and tell me how wrong I am, I think there's a very easy compromise between these two extremes. I think I have a solution. I know there is a system that has the addicting longevity of the external progression found in Cold War while maintaining an authentic in-game progression like we know and love. First, we need to keep the Aetherium Crystal system as is. You earn crystals and unlock tiers in the menus. The big difference though is that instead of automatically having the highest tier of whatever you have unlocked, instead you will be required to upgrade them within the match itself as well. Basically, the Aetherium Crystals are merely unlocking the ability to upgrade these things in-game. So the very first game you play, you can only upgrade your Juggernog to Tier 1. But if you earn Aetherium Crystals and unlock Tier 3 in the menus, then the next game you can go in and buy Juggernog, but it will only be at Tier 1, and through some means, you will be able to upgrade it all the way to Tier 3. That way everything is still in-game, but the gameplay still evolves and grows over time as well. Ha ha ha, but the problem with this is that, well, what's the best way to upgrade these things in-game? Do we do it like Vanguard and use points? Do we have another form of currency like the heart system or salvage? Do we create in-game challenges or side Easter eggs or something else entirely? Personally, I believe this is going to be the biggest challenge about these sort of systems. Take Vanguard's perk system, for example. Players loved being able to upgrade it mid-game. But let's think critically about it for a second. Having 5 base perks with 4 different levels of power results in the player interacting with the perk locations 20 different times. That in and of itself can become incredibly tedious. What I have found with my own gameplay in Vanguard Zombies is that instead of upgrading each perk tier by tier, I would just save up a bunch of points and buy multiple tiers at the same time, effectively sidestepping the entire upgradable aspect of the system entirely. In fact, this whole process is very reminiscent of Black Ops 4's Pack-a-Punch system. I remember everybody lambasting the process of needing to pack-a-punch 5 whole times. It was one of the biggest annoyances of Black Ops 4 for many players, and Vanguard's perk tiers are essentially the identical mechanic, just with perks instead of pack-a-punch. And if I'm being honest, the heart system for field upgrades in Vanguard had a similar feeling too. I would just save them up and then spend them all at the same time. But if returning to one location and simply spending more points isn't the most interesting way of progressing things mid-game, then what is? Well, one solution is actually found in Black Ops 4 with the Specialist system. You ranked up your Specialist weapons simply by getting kills with them. The higher the tier Specialist, the more powerful it became. This system can basically be copied over straight to the field upgrade system, and I would imagine it would immediately become way more satisfying. You start off with a weak version of Frostblast or Ring of Fire, and the more you use it, the more you rank it up, the more powerful it becomes. Far better than just giving players the most powerful abilities as soon as the game begins. The idea of using something in order for it to be leveled up is beautifully simple, and I personally believe it could work well even with equipment and kill streaks. Imagine the Semtex or Death Machine becoming stronger with each use. And now the question becomes, how does this idea translate to the perk system? Do we just want to get kills while having the perk, or do we want the perk to have individual challenges attached to them? Like your speed cola gets better the more kills after reloading you do, or Juggernaut gets stronger the fewer hits you take over time. For some reason, those specific challenges, any specific challenges that players would be required to do every game to rank up specific perks, feels tedious to me. Imagine having to get like 100 kills after reloading every single game, or having to get 100 headshots to rank up Deadshot every single game. I can't think of any challenge other than basic kills that wouldn't become insanely tedious in time. And I think I know why. Perks are a core pillar of the zombie mode. Field upgrades, specialist kill streaks, and equipment, while useful, aren't core pillars of the zombie mode. I use perks every single game. Most players use perks every single game. But I don't always use my field upgrade, and I don't always use equipment. So what works for those optional mechanics may not translate well to a core mechanic like the perk system. If we are going to have any sort of in-game progression and upgrades for perks, I have no idea how to avoid that process of upgrading them becoming incredibly tedious, especially when you consider the fact that any sort of new perk or new tier ability would increase the point cost or challenge requirement to make it that much more tedious. Luckily, I don't have to come up with the solution because I'm not a game developer, but it will be interesting to see what path Treyarch decides to go down. Oftentimes, Treyarch comes up with a solution that makes everyone happy and brings something completely new to the table. In fact, that's exactly what they did with the Altar of Covenants. I used to hate it, but after giving it some thought, I really think it might be a core pillar of player progression in the future of zombies. If you want to see why, check out that video and stay beautiful.